So hello there, good afternoon and welcome to this webinar. It feels nice to be in front of you guys talking again after missing our last event. So hopefully you can all hear me and see me and you can see the slides. So it should be a nice easy afternoon on a Tuesday, because that's what we all want, right? So thank you for joining us and being part of this webinar today that we're doing in conjunction with N-Able, talking about Cove data protection, and we'll get into all of that in a minute, but I'm really grateful that you could take the time to join us. For those of you who don't know me, I'm James Dell. I've been doing this for Planet for a very long time. I'm the technical architecture director. So my background is operational IT, so I can talk about the pain of managing backups firsthand. And I'm glad that I don't have to do that anymore. I get to talk to you about how to do things in an easier way, which is quite nice today. But I think it's more important actually that we're joined by some really great speakers today to talk about the product itself, so I don't have to do it. I'm just not saying that I don't want to do it, just gives me a bit of an easier afternoon. So we're joined by Joseph and JG from N-Able, from the Cove data protection platform. What I'll do is Joseph and JG, if you want to just introduce yourself to everyone, and I think that's probably the best way to start, and hopefully we can then test your cameras are working. They've reappeared, there we go. Joe, I'll let you go first.
Pleasure to meet everyone. My name is Joseph. I'm a senior account executive here at N-Able. Feel free to call me Joey or Joe, and I'm here to discuss N-Able's Cove data protection solution. And I've obviously got my colleague here, JG, to support me, and I'll pass it over to him.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, indeed, Jan Gersines is my first name, which is, even for Dutch people, where I'm actually now in the Netherlands, complicated. So we'll stick to JG. That's totally fine. I've been around for a little bit over 20 years now as one of the 4 founders of the actual software that we're going to discuss today. So more than happy to give you a demo in a few minutes.
It's great to have you on board. There's nothing like having someone that actually built the product to go, you talk about it, and then we can sit back. So no, I'm really grateful to both of you for joining us, and I'm looking forward to going through this with you. For anyone who has joined us before on one of our webinars, we use Teams Live, so you have a Q&A function. Please use that if you do have any questions. That's been moderated by our team, so anything you put in the Q&A doesn't automatically get published. It will get seen by our team, and providing there's nothing in there that's about your business or sensitive, then they will publish those questions. We will get to all the question and answers at the very end, and there's so much other stuff to get through first. So what I like to do is we'll tackle those right at the end, because hopefully between JG and Joseph, they will be able to answer your questions during the content, so we won't actually need to get to those anyway. I have to do this, and I've probably done this slide so many times now that I can do it in my sleep. But there's lots of you joining us who maybe haven't worked with Planet IT before. And what we like to say is we are one team making your IT more efficient. We do everything from managed IT support through cybersecurity, professional services and project delivery, hardware and software procurement, and obviously what we're talking about today, which is backup and disaster recovery, which I always say is probably the least sexy of all the things to talk about, but we'll get onto that in a minute. And we are lucky enough to work with some really big household names and a lot of local businesses around the Oxfordshire area that we've obviously called our home, as it were. So it's great to see these logo slides get bigger and bigger, and more logos appear on them. It makes it harder for me to read them out, but it's great. So if you see your logo on there, thanks for coming back. And if you don't see your logo on there, start working with us and your logo might appear on the screen. Now the bit that some of you will have come for, I suppose, which is that we are giving away some Amazon vouchers today. So there is going to be a live draw at the end of the event. I've got one of those magic spinning wheels, so we'll hope that that works properly and doesn't crash on me. If you don't want to be involved in the competition, drop a thing in the Q&A, and our team will remove you from that spinning wheel. Don't worry, your full name's not on there. What we have done is we have anonymized it to a degree, so you'll still be able to know if you've won, but it will probably only be you that knows that you have won. So I'll explain more about that later on, but that competition is at the very end of the presentation, so unfortunately you do have to stay around and watch the content. You can't get away with disappearing. Let's actually get into the meat and potatoes of it though. Let's actually talk about backup and disaster recovery. And this is kind of a joke. I actually think this is quite a sexy photo. I think AI has done a very good job of me sitting in front of a computer. It happens to have an Apple logo, so I'm even happier. But backup really is one of those subjects that people hate talking about. They often will invest in a backup product and just not worry about it and go, well, yeah, we've done it, it's in place, who cares? I'd monitor it every day. It causes me loads of issues, but I hope I never have to use it in anger. And actually, the truth of it is that's not what you want. We don't want to be in a position where your backup is something that you fear and something you don't trust. It should be easy. It should be conjoined to a degree. It should be that you have a single platform, regardless of what your infrastructure looks like, especially given the way the world is today with multi-cloud or software as a service, or, businesses are different to what they used to be. It's not a traditional server on site and then with an email system you can back up because it's on Exchange. It's all a bit different. So that's where backup needs to change. And certainly the ability to recover needs to be key. And you shouldn't spend your entire life trying to get backups working and trying to make them usable. So from my background, I hated doing backups because it was something that I would spend days looking at error logs, trying to get one server to back up, knowing that if I ever needed to recover it, I was never that confident. And what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about how working with N-Able and with the Cove platform, it's a completely different approach. And actually, we can take some of that stress away and give you peace of mind about your backup and disaster recovery approach. But it's good for me to kind of talk about why we work with N-Able. And I think whenever I do one of these events, I like to be honest with you all about why we've chosen to bring a product and a vendor to the table, because a lot of you we come into this event because you trust Planet and you trust what we do. So obviously, if we're putting our trust in a partner, there has to be a reason for it. And with N-Able, it starts very simply for me, which is that there's 2.8 million Microsoft 365 backup users being backed up by the platform. You can't go wrong with numbers, right? If that many people are trusting the platform and it's working, that's a great place to be. But then we move into the things that really matter, where it's all about cloud native approach, right? We're in a world where so much more is delivered in the cloud that actually being cloud native by approach is kind of key. And a lot of the products that you will see in the same space don't have that. They will be cloud by add-on or cloud by if you bend it to do something it shouldn't do. It's very rare that it's a cloud native platform. From my point of view, it's really easy to work with the guys from N-Able. You can see JG and Joe have joined us today, but actually it's very rare that when you engage with a vendor that they will actually give someone of JG's caliber to come and sort of join you for a webinar and talk about the product. And that's because it's all about the partnership that we're building together and that we continue to build together. And ultimately, what I really love about working with N-Able is that we're finding that we're able to always go above and beyond for customers when we're working together. Every engagement that we've had in every project we've won and every client that's moved forward with the N-Able products has always found that we're not going to help. It's always, let's push it forward and do everything we can to drive that success together, right? Because we all succeed together. So actually, from a Planet point of view, it's really key that we've picked a partner that we want to work with and brings technology to the table, but also brings a degree of human approach and trust that actually everything that we do is built on. Then I suppose the second part of why we want to bring sort of Cove to the table, as it were, so why we're talking about this specific offering from N-Able, comes back to some of the points I was talking about, which is backup isn't something that everyone really likes talking about, but it's something that all of us need. And a business that doesn't have backup is a business that's waiting for something to go wrong. I talk about cybersecurity so much, and actually underpinning every conversation we have about any kind of cyber attack is what's your backup, what's your DR strategy? Because actually that's what's in most cases where you rely on. You rely on what can you recover from backup, because in most cases live data is destroyed in those attacks. And that's why having a very robust approach is so key. So the backup and disaster recovery of the Cove platform was something that when we first saw it actually just stood out to us as being such a great part of the product, something that we're not seeing other people do that. And then it lured us in, and me and my team were sitting watching the initial demos and we're like, actually, this is so simple, but it's something that we really want to be involved in. Obviously, for us being a Microsoft partner, Microsoft 365 backup is hugely important, but it's more important to get all of that data in and do it in the right way. And that's something that you'll see that the Cove platform does. It's also important that the platform is not platforms. There's nothing worse than buying a product that says, oh, we do 365 backup, we do Azure, we do AWS, we do this, but every one of them is a different product, because ultimately it's not one product, then it's multiple products. So single pane of glass, single platform is massively important when trying to manage backups, especially in ever-changing complex environments. So it's great to see that. Obviously, as I mentioned, they're cloud first. It's all about increased efficiency. the big one for anyone who's in the backup space and has heard Mike Davey from our team talk is immutability is just the most important part of any part of a backup system. It's great having backups. If they're not immutable, you might as well not have backups, because those cyber attacks will take them out, and immutable by design is key. The fact you can recover to anywhere. If anyone's attended any of our events that we've done recently talking about cyber attacks and those situations, I always mention about what you're going to do if you can't recover to where you originally came from for legal reasons or for performance issues or just because the equipment's damaged. So recovering to anywhere is something that is actually really important for a platform that you're looking at for a unified backup approach. And beyond that, it's good that it's quick, it's easy, and it's easy to test. That's the kind of things that we're looking for when we look at a product. So we haven't, as a business, talked about backup and disaster recovery with you in this kind of format or at an event since 2019. And there's a reason for that. I said backup's not sexy. It's also because nothing's that interesting when you're talking about backups. But I feel it's completely different when we talk about Cove data protection and what it can bring to the table. And that's why we're doing this today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop waffling on, and I'm going to hand over to the guys from N-Able to talk to you about the product, about what it does, and ultimately show you how it all works. So Joe, I'll hand over to you, and you can talk, and I'll be quiet because no one wants to hear my voice anymore.
Thank you, James. Much appreciated. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. Thanks to Planet IT for having me and JG. I'm quickly going to discuss, kind of N-Able as an organization, and then we'll obviously jump into the product offering with JG walking through a demo. So N-Able is now a cyber resilience company. So we're providing end-to-end cyber resiliency for either endpoints, networks, as well as, servers, applications as well. So we manage devices as well. So in our Ecoverse, which is our platform of our products all put together, we're able to manage endpoints. So when it comes to Windows, Mac, or Linux, or network devices, we're able to monitor those via SNMP, able to remote and manage, able to patch and manage vulnerabilities, as well as have full automation. We're also able to secure those endpoints for you at the end of the day. So the ability to provide you with endpoint detection and response, leveraging our XDR and our MDR offering, as well as our mail security and identity protection. So we're securing your endpoints. Now here today, we're here to talk about our Cove data protection solution. So obviously the ability to back up your endpoints as well as your O365, the ability to do disaster and cyber recovery, and the ability to do cloud recovery, leveraging our cloud data protection. Quickly to touch base, we do have 25,000 plus customers globally with over 9 million endpoints managed. And just to touch base on James' slide, we actually just backed up our 3 millionth endpoint for O365, leveraging Cove data protection. And we are a publicly traded organization on the New York Stock Exchange under N-Able. Feel free to go to the next slide. Perfect. So why modern backup has evolved to resilience? So some of the stats that we've pulled out over the last year or so, we've come to realize that 82% of ransomware attacks are targeting specific organizations below 1,000 employees. Of that 82%, 51% of those SMBs hit by ransomware were offline for approximately 10 days or so. So lots of downtime. Of those SMBs, 17% of those SMBs had cyber insurance. So we know that cyber essentials and cyber insurance is key to moving forward and being, cost effective as also secure at the end of the day. So we know, limited security tooling such as MFA, endpoint security, patching, immutable backups are some of the challenges and limitations. We know the limitations around IT and security teams and that they rarely perform recovery testing. And we also know that organizations lack a tested incident response plan and security awareness training. So at the end of the day, we try to provide affordable cyber insurance, which is hard to achieve, but with our solutions, including Cove data protection, we're able to provide you with that cyber insurance requirements. Next slide, please. So today we're talking about Cove data protection. So what is Cove data protection? Well, Cove data protection is fully managed, isolated data protection for your servers, your VMs, your endpoints, as well as M365. So we're able to back up your local servers and endpoints, your cloud servers, as well as your O365, into the cloud, and then the ability to recover either to ESXi, Hyper-V servers, Azure, as well as the ability to do automated recovery testings to prove your backups are recoverable in our cloud solution. So we do know that there are several challenges that customers face, or our partners do face. So obviously the one is, ransom attack recovery, being able to spin up those backups and recover those to the proper recovery points, the ability to be reliable and avoid any uncertainties with recovery, and obviously the time on management, so the ability to back up windows and restore as quickly as possible, and obviously the complex, unpredictable costs of a backup solution. Next slide, please. So data resilience within Cove Data Protection. So right out of the box, we have built-in direct to cloud backups, which are fully immutable. We have end-to-end backup encryption, so 256-bit encryption. We have mandatory multi-factor authentication built into the dashboard. We provide role-based access control, the ability to do automated recovery testing, continuous restores, which includes standby imaging, and the ability to do RPOs from 24 hours all the way down to 15 minutes. And Cove is fully ISO certified, HIPAA compliant, SOC 1 and SOC 2 as well. And we're able to provide that documentation to any potential customers. So what makes Cove stand out in a very saturated, crowded market? So one, we're a unified web-based SaaS management. So the ability to back up your servers, your VMs, and O365. We're secured by design, so off-network and fully immutable backups. We provide you with recovery testing done twice a month. The ability to do continuous restores on-prem or to Azure. Our solution includes storage, and we move 60% less data across to the cloud. And we have the ability to provide you with a 30-day proof of concept trial, which converts into a live customer environment. So to do some testing, very easy to go ahead and deploy some backup agents to your servers, your workstations, and very easy to sync up with your O365 instance to back up SharePoint, Exchange, OneDrive, and Teams. Next slide, please. And now I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to you, James.
Yeah, I think we'll let JG come in and do the demo. Let me hide my slides. No one needs to see those anymore. Let's go full on. And JG, hopefully you can share your demo environment, and we can see the fun stuff. Because as techies, that's what we really care about. We want to see what it looks like.
Yes, of course. And I hope this is
yeah,
good enough. I see it's actually a bit. I'll pump up the resolution a bit so that we have a.
Yeah, good old Zoom required. Yeah, everyone, get your glasses out.
I think this should. I think this should work if I see this correctly. So, thanks everyone for being here today, and I'll like to show you the power of the Cove software. I'll specifically stick to the dashboard because that's what you really would use on a day-to-day basis. There is, of course, software that runs all these backups, but this is the management system that you can easily work with. So for the first quick glance on what we're actually looking at here, this is the Cove Data Protection Dashboard. This is a demo site for us where we have servers, workstations, and Microsoft 365 tenants running in an environment. And if we start at the left top donut graph that you can see, there's a split between servers and workstations. The majority is a server in this case. We have 6 Microsoft 365 tenants with just 83 users in it. We can see the success rate of the current status of all your backups. And for some people, this would maybe be a bit surprising why 11 would be in process, but I'll get to that. And we can see the success rate within the last 24 hours, and that is like 100% success rate. And you would say, yeah, of course, in your demo, it's 100%, but I can guarantee that it's with a lot of our customers, it's 100%. So that's good to know that the general idea of the Cove software, if you would search online as well, the remarks that you will find it's awesome, it just works. In the middle of the page, we have lots of lines where you see or a server or a workstation or a Microsoft 365 tenant. That's the three variations that we have in the system. But the nice thing is that they're all reporting in the same way. So we can see a column for selected size and use storage or the status or the errors or anything. And you can see that they all represent the same type of statistics. But what also stands out here is this color bar. And this color bar gives you an impression on the last 28 days, as it says in the header. So this icon is today, this is yesterday, and then you see the light parts is for last weekend, and then 5 for last week, and then the weekend before and the week before. So you can go back 28 days and see very quickly, for instance, this machine wasn't running over the last weekend, that's fine. This one is running right now. You can see this one had an issue over a week ago. So that's fine, and it gives you not only the last status, because it's nice to know that the backup is complete, but it's also very nice to know that you can go back in time, because backup is not only about your last backup, of course, it's also about the retention that you've built up and where you can do restores from as well. So there's a lot of columns here. I will not go through all the columns, but there's a lot of details in this first grid. And then on the left side, we have a menu where you can dive into the data at a different angle. So for instance, I can select Microsoft 365 backups. I will get a filter for those tenants only. So now I'm looking at 6 tenants instead of the whole base. But I also have different information in my screen. I should do it like this, where you can see I've got color bars for different data sources. I can get different statistics. I will not go in too high detail now, but you can imagine this is all purpose built for Microsoft 365 data to be able to report very smart on it. But you can also do the opposite. You can also click on the assets tracking on the left, and then you would see no M365, only the devices, but now with the client version and with the operating system, and if it's a virtual machine and what the IPs are and storage and anything asset related to those devices. And to give you a quick idea on that, there's a lot of columns here in the system. We have over 600 columns that you can choose from to be able to pick and choose your own data points that you want to see, and you can get smart filters and lots of cool things on top of that. But what we did to really prove the point of the software here is to split out your device backups first in a 3-level service level approach. And you could say, I want to do a backup every day. That is still very common in the market that we've seen happening still, of course, over all the years. 24-hour RPO stands for 24-hour recovery point objective. So what's the maximal gap between your backups? That's how I would like to explain it if you're not familiar with the term. So technically, if you back up at midnight and your server dies at 10 to 12 in the evening, you would almost lose 24 hours because you have to go back to midnight the day before. And that's a serious gap. A lot of people are used to that technology because from the past you had physical backups needed to be done, needed to be physically removed from devices and stored somewhere else. So the backup was just a nightly thing, and you would wake up and get your backups sorted and then move on with the day, and then hopefully next night it would run a new backup. But the technology has moved on, and if you look at my devices here, they run a 24-hour profile. That means they will back up once a day. You can also see that the backups here are running somewhere around midnight. So that's fine. That's how we set it up. You can also see that the total number of files in the selection is pretty significant. This is 5.5 million files. That's a nice server. You can also see that the send size of these backups, and this is what Joe was referring to as well. We send 60 times less. Try to do this with for instance, Veeam or so. It's not going to be anywhere close. And this is how long these backups take, direct to cloud in the middle of the night. So you can already probably guess my statement on 1 backup per day. I don't like it. I think that you're under-insuring yourself if you do 1 backup per day. Because if one of these machines goes down right now, and in the Netherlands it's now 1524, we lose 15 hours, just gone. And it's only a 6-minute backup or a 2-minute backup. So why are we not going to do a higher frequency and maybe also even better retention? So I'm now clicked on a different view on the left that gives me a different subset of my machines with a different profile. also with different retention. And now these backups are, in the majority of cases, a lot more recent, as you can see, after lunch here. And the size that it transfers is now also smaller. It was already not a lot, but since we do more backups in a day, we split changes during the day, and all these backups will automatically be even smaller and therefore even faster. Look at this. This is just like very, very fast backups of multi-million file servers or any server that you want or workstation that you want to backup. So that would then open up the door for even higher frequencies. Technically, we can do every 15 minutes, but what if we just stick to 1 hour? 1 hour, you see, we're talking about single-digit megabytes and not gigabytes, megabyte backups in just 1 or 2 or 3 minutes, running every hour. So in case you want to do a restore, there's a lot to pick from, and the chances of you losing a lot of data on a daily basis is very slim. So it starts with smart backups with high frequency. We can totally deliver that, as you've seen. What we can also do is deliver a very interesting retention policy. And the retention policy, I'll pick one example here. The retention policy is, I think, for people that worked in the backup space with technology over the last years, it's a familiar approach. It's a 5-layered approach. So you can decide how long you want to keep your intra-daily backups. And intra-daily backups, we mean all your hourly or bi-hourly backup sessions that are happening during the day. So if you have this setting and you do hourly backups, you can go back a full week based on all your hourlies. But outside of your week, we're going to fall back on the last backup of the day. And outside your 30 days, we're going to fall back on the last backup of the week for so many weeks, and then so many months and so many years. And you can see the minimum and maximum numbers here on the right that you can choose. So technically you can set a retention policy up to 10 years retention, fully automatic happening with the software. It is as easy as just changing 5 numbers here, click save, and then you have a different retention policy. So that is all very straightforward and powerful. It's super easy to deploy. I didn't speak about the deployment yet. Of course, we also need to keep something alive for your one-on-one demo if you'd like to know a little bit more. But it is easy to deploy. I helped another customer of Planet already, and that was just like half an hour of the full setup of the whole environment, including Microsoft 365. So I'm not too worried about that. Then the last thing before I quickly jump into Microsoft 365 is the way we can also do restores. Because if you are in the backups of if you, for instance, use something like Veeam, image backup related software, you would think like, yeah, but these guys are not doing image backups, they just do file backups, and that doesn't help me. And if I need to do a restore, that's going to be a whole lot of work and manual actions. That's not the case. We solved that problem. So what we can do is we can do image level restores from non-image level backups. That's very important in our whole technology stack. And what we've created is our recovery locations. And that is what you see here. This is a list of machines that run as you should see that as an orchestrator that will execute restores. So they run on a Hyper-V host. Whatever you want to run it, you can run it against your VMware ESXi environment, or you can create a setup in an Azure tenant where you can restore to as well. And I want to give you a quick demo of that. For instance, if you lost a machine or it just doesn't boot anymore, you say, I need that right now. You can say, I need to do a one-time restore. That's the logic that we use. And then you say, for instance, back to an Hyper-V host, and it's going to give you a drop down of all your available machines. And I select one that's online, and I can go next, and I'll get a full list of all my devices that are available for restore. So I can just pick one. Let's do this one. And the software is going to ask me to say, so which session do you want? And you can already see this is an impressive list of sessions only for today. But I can also go back to yesterday, and then the list is even bigger. Right, so that's a lot of sessions available. So you can be very specific in your point of time. You can decide what type of format you want. So here you see it's an image. It's a VHD or a VHDX Windows image, or it's also going to be a VHDX and even connected into your Hyper-V host. If you pick that option, it's also going to ask you for the amount of cores that you want to assign and the gigabytes that you want to do. The virtual switch and IP settings, you can completely prepare these machines as a virtual machine in your Hyper-V host. And that means that this backup, and we don't know what the backup was. It could be a physical server, it could be a workstation, it could be an Azure VM. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. We will be able to restore this into or Hyper-V or in VMware or in a Microsoft Azure tenant. I don't want to go too deep into that specific topic now, but that is what the software can do. It's the capabilities are there right at your fingertips. And maybe we'll get some questions. I'm not tracking the questions, by the way, so somebody else is doing that.
Tracked. Yeah, it's all good.
Good, thanks. Then I'd like to spend a few minutes on Microsoft 365 backups. Adding a device or a Microsoft 365 tenant is as easy as clicking on the right button. And if you click on the Microsoft 365 tenant, you can assign it to a level in the tree. I'll get to the tree as well. And you enter your domain name. And after that, it's going to ask you to connect. It will raise a Microsoft login window. You log in with the right credentials. And from that point on, it is just selecting users, sites, teams, and say, let's do this. And I can't show you the onboarding because you can't keep onboarding the same tenant, of course, but I can show you the rest of the software. It's going to be very similar to what you see here. We have an overview of a breakdown of all your users. You see the normal users, the shared mailboxes, active, deleted, licensed, unlicensed. There's different ways to look at your data, of course. By default, the users are selected. We have the option to automatically add new users for your Exchange and OneDrive. We have the new option to enable in-place archive backups right there. And it's just as easy as just saying next, because you probably want to do it like this. Then you go to SharePoint. You see a breakdown of all your SharePoint sites. You see the sites and the sizes of them. And you would also proceed with that and go into the teams where you see the actual teams, groups, and the users and the owners. We would only count the owners. And after that, it will start processing the data right away. Depends a bit, of course, on how big the tenant is. But a small tenant is done in just a few minutes. A big tenant will take longer. And that will end up then into your protected users, where you have an overview of all the users in the system based on their permissions, based on their flags that they have at the Microsoft site. This is all based on Microsoft data, where you can see if they count for something or not. And the logic behind our billing mechanism is simple. You count or you don't count. It's just very binary on that point of view. So it's not that you have different retention upgrades or different plugins that make it more complicated or more expensive. It's free, and you're free if you are a shared mailbox with Exchange. That's the free user. And otherwise, if you have some retention, you count. And it doesn't matter if you have one checkbox for Exchange or you have the 4 checkboxes for every option. It's no difference in price. So that's easy to understand. So if you need a restore, and I'll just stick with the Exchange restore for now, but because the concept is very similar, you need to log in. I'll do that right now with the different credentials. Just need to log in, part of the process here. There we go. So I am connected now. So I'm now going to get an overview of all the users where there was an Exchange backup happening. You can also see when the last backup was. So I'll stick with my own sandbox user. And I'm getting a breakdown here for the date. So you decide on which date you want to do a restore. So you pick a different point and you get multiple backups in the day. So let's stick with this session. You see the calendar here. I can click on that and we will see more emails. You can also search for that. So if you want to search for Entra, I can just search here, Entra. And there we go. You see, very nicely. So this one is the one that I want to restore. It's super important. That's the one I need. Go to next. And now it suggests to do a restore back into my normal mailbox. That's the same account here, but you can choose to do it in a different user. So if you want to do this for any other purpose, you can select that. And then you can also decide if you want to do the auto-generated part, or you can say, no, I want to put it into the drafts of the user. That's even taking most time of this whole process, because after that, it gives you a confirmation what's going to happen. And you say, yeah, I all like this, let's go. And it will then move into what we call the job queue. I'm too slow for the job queue because it's already done. It took 2 seconds to do a restore. I need to be quicker on clicking on the job queue. It's 2 seconds and the restore was already executed. So it's that simple. If you lose an email, it works exactly the same for OneDrive or for a file in your SharePoint or something like that. Teams is a little bit different because you can't restore a whole team on top of the current team. You have to do it in a different name, but that's also very doable. So this gives you a bit of an impression on what it does, how easy it runs. For instance, the retention is 7 years for Microsoft 365 backups. That's fixed. That's always the case. And the frequency is multiple times per day. It depends a bit on the plugin and on the size of the plugin. But you can see here that we'll have multiple backups, 7-year retention, super easy to use. This is really a set and forget type of thing. You set it up and it will just work for you. All right, that's been like 15-20 minutes, a quick introduction into the Cove world. There's lots more you see. I didn't touch on everything, of course, in the dashboard right now, but there's a lot more to explore, and how we can, that we can also demo it to you in your specific situation and make sure that we can give you the best advice how you could potentially implement and use this.
The first thing I want to say before I move on to anything else is just how simple the platform is. Like when you show that initial dashboard, it's so easy to, at that snapshot, understand exactly where your infrastructure is at across the board. And I think that's something that you guys don't give yourself enough credit for compared to how complicated it can be going, oh, has this backup failed? Or is it just just one file fail? What state am I in? How's it been the last 30 days? For some platforms, it's about 400 clicks to try and find the report you need. This is just like, it's in your face. And coming from an IT operations point of view, going and looking at backups and being able to go, yeah, it's all green, just makes life so much easier. So no, thank you so much for showing that. And I think that there'll be loads of questions to go through in a minute. I think it's really good to sort of hone in on how simple that is. I'm just going to steal the sharing back. He says, confidently. Cool. Hopefully you can see my slides, because if not, we're going to be talking to myself. So as JG mentioned, obviously what we really want you to do is to have a demo, because actually there's two things. One, the product and the platform is so simple that actually in that demo, we can probably get you set up and start using that product for your environment, and not just say to you, oh, it works, show you it works and show you how simple it is without affecting your current backups, without affecting anything else, without getting you to commit to anything. Say, let's show you how well this works. And to be honest with you, everyone that we've engaged with this and done that has gone, my God, this is so much simpler than everything else we've been using. So we want you to do that. So much so that what we've been able to do with the team at N-Able is put together these cooler box special bundles to try and extend the summer a little bit more, even though it's absolutely freezing today. And I'm not going to take credit for the fact that it's freezing cold when we're trying to inject a bit more summer into the end of September. So for the first 5 Cove demos that get booked with us today, you're going to receive one of these bundles. They're going to come out really soon. So they're going to be coming with a cool box, a towel. We're going to be coming with a speaker, some drinks, a cocktails menu. But you do need to get your own ice. But you might be able to get that from outside if the weather keeps going the way it is. If you want to get one of those demos, you need to reach out to your Planet IT account manager. If you don't know who your account manager is, then just ring the main Planet IT number or email me, james.dell@planet-it.net. We'll sort you out. First 5 of those that get booked in with the team at N-Able, we'll get one of those lovely cool boxes. Maybe if only 4 of you want to book in, and then I can have one as well, that'd be great. But no, I am joking. I'm sure there'll be lots of you that want to see this in use. I do have to say this. I always like to talk about other things we're doing. It sounds really bad, but do one event, talk about the next one. And we are giving away some free Microsoft training. So this is kind of £1,500 per person per seat's worth of Microsoft AZ 900 trainings. This is the full course. So this will be a whole day. We'll take you through everything you need to pass the exam. That will also include giving you the training material and an exam voucher. So we're actually paying for your exam as well. So there's very limited spaces because it's a classroom. I can only have so many people in it. 23rd of October in the SIAD Business School in Oxford. Scan the QR code or check the chat where we've just dropped the link in. You want to sign up pretty quickly because those spaces are filling up, but it's not often that you get paid to do Microsoft training, and it's a certification that you get to keep. So this is the bit where it's going to get complicated. I'm going to now swap across to the live spinning wheel of doom. And if this doesn't work, it's not my fault. He says confidently, like it's not going to work. Hopefully, it says we should have a spinning wheel. Now, it may be chugging a bit for you. Trust me, it's been going the whole time we've been watching, and it's spinning quite fast, and I feel like I'm going a bit dizzy. What I'm going to do is we've got 3 £100 Amazon vouchers to offer. The way that the naming on the wheel works is it's your first initial, your second initial, and then the start of your company. So for me, it would be JDP because it's James Dell Planet IT. I'm not on the wheel. I really wish I was. So if you see it, that should be it. What will happen is your account manager will reach out to you afterwards. The reason we've done it this way is for data protection reasons, so we're not sharing everyone's name. So I'm going to spin the wheel, and hopefully you'll get some sound, and we'll get 3 winners. Here goes with confidence. I feel like I get a preview because mine was slightly ahead of whoever won there. Right. Okay. So, second winner. This is much easier than spinning a real wheel because that would have definitely worn my arm out by now. Number 2. And then final wheel spin. You got more chance now. Everyone keeps getting removed from it. There's more and more chance. Your percentage gets bigger. And the final winner for the vouchers is... Oh, didn't quite go over. Right, there we go. That bit was actually a lot less painful than I thought it would be. Let's just quickly swap back to the presentation. I always love having to do prize draws live and trying not to get it wrong. Give away 900 vouchers instead of the ones I'm supposed to give away. But you never know. You
did a great job, James.
Yeah, that's it. I can still make a quiz host if I want to, right? So let's just really quickly, I always said that if you need to reach out to me, you don't know who your account manager is, you want to book, you can do that. You can scan the QR code. It's not a vishing code or anything. You can literally scan it and it will get you through to my socials. Or you can email me. I will more than happily sort out for you a demo with the team at N-Able and get you one of those cool boxes. So you definitely want to be reaching out for that. But without further ado, I think we should jump into some of the questions. And I'm going to start with one of the questions that came in early doors, and it's a complicated question, but I'll ask it and hopefully everyone has some form of answer. And it's something that I know we get asked about with a lot of products, which is around subject access requests and obviously GDPR in terms of needing to provide data in a format that can be redacted and passed on to a requester. Is there a mechanism inside of the Cove platform to sort of support businesses with subject access requests, or how would you approach that? I know it's a complicated question. I like to start with difficult things. Good silence. What I was going to say was, I knew that was a tough question.
No, you didn't say to who you are asking it.
Well, I was hoping that someone would have an answer. No, I don't know. From a technology point of view, I suppose it's one of the most complicated things of backups, isn't it? Is to look inside backups for specific data. Is it something where your approach would be there isn't a mechanism for it, and we would suggest that you lean on it's not technically viable, or is it something where it's a challenge anyway, isn't it? Any platform you go to, and regardless of talking about Cove, if you're trying to audit backup data to then provide under a subject access request, you've actually got to be exposing the data inside of the backups, which is more of a challenge, right?
Correct. Yeah, so that's something we don't do very easily on that point. At least we will give you power to get to data, but not from like a dashboard view where you can just see everything, because all our backups are by default encrypted and compressed, but specifically encrypted. So the data that we store in our data centers doesn't mean anything for us. We don't have the key. We can't access it. The only way to get back to the data is to restore it through the same mechanism with the key to make sure it becomes real data again. So what you can do is you can actually go to the actual machine if you have access to it, start our software, and there is an option to search for specific file or folder names, including retention points. But that's only if you really have access to that machine.
Yeah, well, which is, let's be honest, that's more than valid in that scenario. So thanks for answering that. The next question, I think, JG, you're going to get as well, which is when we're looking at recovery time objectives, what would you realistically see with the RTO for a customer who's looking at sort of 2 physical full servers and Windows 10 VMs? What are we? That's the question. I don't know how best to kind of pose that to you in terms of, I'll let you sort of.
Yeah, sure. So it depends a bit on if you want to do a bare metal restore to a device, which ideally I would try to stay away from if you don't really need to do it. If it's a standalone physical server, and our software will now give you the power to actually make it a virtual machine instead of a physical server, and you can virtualize that one restore. I actually did a test of 10 virtual machine restores at the same time to make a backup and to restore them in a completely different host. 10 actual Windows servers, and the whole restore was done in 41 minutes of 10 servers. So it's quick. It's a lot quicker than people expect it to be. So that's also a good reason to request a demo, because we have some interesting statistics for you.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things I will always say is, why wouldn't you test it, right? That's the conversation I have with people who tend to have traditional backups in terms of, talking more NAS boxes and tapes, is that they've never really tested a recovery. But with a platform like yours, not only could you do that during the demo, you could check the backups work, but you could actually do a recovery back to a Hyper-V box, back to ESXi. You could prove, and you could see how long it's going to take, because actually that would be great for your DR planning to know exactly what kind of a restore window looks like. Recovering a server takes 8 hours, right? Okay, well, at least then, so you're not in a position where you think you can recover your entire business in 10 minutes. Going on to some additional questions. So what would you say are the key differentiators between the way that you work with Microsoft 365 versus other vendors? I think we definitely saw simplicity from what you were showing in the demo, but is there anything that you feel that you guys do differently that was worth highlighting to people in terms of the way that you interact with Microsoft 365?
Yeah, I would say there's as easy as it is to set it up, it's also very easy to just forget something. Well, it's not easy to forget, but people forget something, and we see that happening.
Yes.
So there's a 3-component situation on the M365 stack. Your onboarding is key, of course. So if you just decide to make sure that everybody is in and will automatically add users, that's not going to be a problem. If you decide that only a part of the organization needs to be in, and then you also decide to not auto-enable new users, you gave yourself a lot of work. Because now every user needs to be checked if you're going to add them into the backup, yes or no. And most people already know what's going to happen. That's probably not going to be executed 100%. So that's already your first tricky situation. Then your day-to-day management in the Cove dashboard is actually very easy. That's the second part. So that will save you a lot of time. But the third one is the question about offboarding, because it is a constantly changing environment. What are you going to do with the data of users that are being offboarded? Will you convert users to shared? Are you going to delete them? Will you just remove the license? And what are you going to do with your backup retention? Are you going to keep it? Do you want to pay for it? Is it just an intern that you just can get rid of right now? Or was it the previous CEO that you want to keep for longer? Yeah. And those questions are always, it's good to think about it. And our software gives you the power to make very smart and simple decisions on that, and make it give your day-to-day management like a very easy and digestible approach.
I really like that. And I think there's one thing that I want to highlight from the experience that I've had with other platforms and yours is from the 365 point of view, from the recovery, you don't assume that you have the right to go in and push that back up. As you showed in your demo, it requests your administrator. You have to have a global admin at that point to log back in, because there is some platforms, I won't name them, where it uses it gives itself implicit admin rights, which means that someone who may not have global admin but has access to the backup product very easily pushes a recovery essentially that they shouldn't have done, because they don't need permissions to 365 because the system has it. But with your platform, it is actually asking them to authenticate to make that change. I think, from a kind of data sovereignty, data protection point of view, is really key to say, just because you can get into N-Able Cove doesn't necessarily mean that you're the right person to decide what data is going back into 365, or likewise using the platform incorrectly to copy data from one mailbox to the other. You have to essentially do that level of authentication. I think it's really powerful.
Yeah.
So I've got a question here. So it says, if the client chose to go with you, say for 5 years, and then they decided to move away, what does it look like in terms of retaining the backup data that you've already taken, or is there any like an offboarding charge, or is there a way to move the backups that you've taken if they decided to move away? I suppose this is kind of a problem I see with a lot of existing backup products, is that you're kind of pinned to them. So how does that work from a Cove point of view?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it is of course happening if you're offboarding from a backup solution. Like, backups are not only like a copy of the data; they're also encrypted, compressed, and they have smart delta processing and versioning and all of that. And that is of course the key intellectual property of a vendor, and they're not going to open that up to anyone else. So, if you want to import your retention from your last 6 years of Veeam backups, well, good luck. They're not going to tell you how that works, of course. And even if they would tell you, you don't know if the data was really consistent all the time, or if there was an outage or anything else. It's way too tricky to import data from somebody else. This is about exporting data, of course. We are going to release exports to PST very soon, and exports to zip as well. But that is a point-in-time export. Yep. That is not going to be your full set. So you can decide, I want this version, this snapshot of my backup should go somewhere else. But that's not going to be included, because if you want to have all these versioning involved, then we need to create like a whole separate offline tool for that you can download and manage that, and that's not on the short-term roadmap.
No, and I wouldn't say that you're unique there. I think a lot of providers will claim that they can do exports, but just to the point you made, the export will be a giant zip file, or even worse, it will be parts of a wider compressed file format that you then can't do anything with, or they'll go, you can have the data, but it's in a bespoke format that only they can read. To a degree, if you're making a decision to protect your business, what you want to be doing is picking the right product that's future-proof, which is why we're talking about N-Able Cove today, because we are seeing that some of those other products in the market are losing that traction. They're no longer, we're no longer in a position where you can sort of trust those legacy platforms to do what you need to do. I've got 2 more questions that have come up that I want to try and get through quickly. I know we're running out of time. We're slightly over. The first one is about, where is the data stored? I'm thinking from a GDPR data residency point of view, where do you store your cloud data?
N-Able runs their own cloud, so it's not with Microsoft or AWS or so. It is all, we have 95% of our data centers run in Equinix data centers around the world. If you set up your Cove setup, every entity that you create, you can decide where the data storage should be landing. So if you have an environment that has multi-country setup, you can decide one site in the UK and the other in the Netherlands and another in Belgium and the US. And we've got loads of data centers around the world. To give you an idea, we add over a petabyte every 4 or 5 days.
Just a small amount of data then.
So on capacity that we add, So it's pretty significant. It is, but it's up to you to decide. So if you will, for instance, we're talking about the UK, of course. If you pick the UK, it's going to be stored in the UK under our own management. It is actual N-Able hardware and N-Able data center contracts, and we do this for over 20 years now, and we've got that game pretty well under control, I can say.
I love that. The final question is around peripheral stuff. So we're talking Microsoft 365 and Power Automate, Power Platform, Power BI, those kind of things. Is that on your roadmap? Is that something you can protect at the moment in terms of if a client is quite a large kind of state in 365 outside of Exchange, Teams, OneDrive? How does that look for you at the moment?
It's a good question. Yeah, that's a good question. It's our Microsoft 365 suite is definitely not sort of done on features. It's an evolving product, and the market is going in that direction, of course. So we will as well. We're constantly evaluating the priorities on how to extend, but that we're going to support extra tools, that we're going to looking in Entra ID and your Intune policies, and what else you can think of, right? There's so many things that you can consider.
Right?
And even if you would have it, Microsoft is constantly changing it as well. So even introducing one feature is almost like a never-ending development cycle.
Keeps us all busy, right? But no, I appreciate
that's
that.
fine.
Never-ending.
That's just that's what it is. But the product is going to be more extended in like almost every release that we do, and we release every month. Almost every release there is something added into the M365 suite as well, and that's not going to stop. That's only going to accelerate.
I think what you've just said is that I need to do one of these every month to update people on what's changed. So that'll be the next thing that comes. We are well over time, so I appreciate that. I want to say thank you to both of you for the time you've given today. It's been really good to have you talk about the product and show everyone how it works. We've had some really positive feedback. What I've just been told in my ear, like I'm a presenter, is that we've already had 4 Cove demos booked in. They've already been done whilst we've been chatting. But I have been told that we should be able to secure some more of these cooler boxes. So what you want to do is you want to, as I finish this webinar, pick up the phone, send an email, get on top of your Planet IT account manager and get these booked in, because I don't know how many more they're going to let me give away, but I've just been told that we will secure some more because we've got so much interest. So so I should imagine by the time I finish talking, the 5th one will be gone. So make sure you get on the phone and get that booked in. For those of you who won the Amazon vouchers, your account manager will give you a ring and get that sent across to you. Like I said, that's not my problem. It sounds really bad, but I'm not allowed to have Amazon vouchers because I buy too many pretty things. So that goes without saying, like, thank you so much, everyone, for giving your time up today. If you wanted to watch any of this back, there will be a Teams recording. Will go onto our YouTube channel normally a couple of days after we're finished. But JG and Joseph, thank you so much for your time, and I hope everyone really enjoyed it.
Thanks for having us, James. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers all.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye now.